Hello. Are you able to hear me? Hello. Radhika Peruri, are you able to hear me? Can you please unmute and talk? Hello, good morning. Hello. 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 Host, are you able to hear me? Can you please reply? Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Okay, sir. Your voice is
Host,
audible. Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
వినపడుతుందండి?
వినపడుతుంది సార్. వినపడుతుంది సార్.
ఒక్క నిమిషం నాకు సరిగా ఒక నిమిషం ఉండండి.
వినపడుతుంది సార్.
హలో.
వినపడుతుంది సార్.
థ్యాంక్ యూ వెరీ మచ్ సార్. నేను 10:30కి వస్తాను షార్ప్గా. ఓకే.
ఓకే సార్.
Back at 10:30. Only 10:20. Thank you very much for restoring everything back to normalcy.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Is it Yashwant speaking?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, Yashwant, nice talking to you.
Thank you, sir.
Right.
You, sir. Okay,
Thank
sir.
you because the whole day and wait చేసాను వేస్ట్ అయిపోయిందమ్మా. ఇవాళ నేను I hope by 10 minutes లో ఇంకా వేరే పార్టిసిపెంట్స్ కూడా వస్తారు. అప్పటికల్లా నేను I'll be in time. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, good morning. Can each one unmute and respond, please? Shailaja, can you please respond? I would like you to unmute and respond. Are you there? Yeah, each one. Shailaja, can you please unmute and say good morning to you? This is Nagarjuna. I will be teaching you the subject. Can you unmute? Shailaja, mic on cheyachamma. Sir, hello Anamma. I want to know whether you are able to listen.
I am, sir. Good morning.
Very good, Shailaja. What makes you to join journalism in BA course?
Sir, I'm already into a corporate industry. I'm working
Okay.
as an associate director, and
Oh, wow.
it,
That's
this,
really
is,
great.
this was my line of interest while I was in my degree also. And
Okay.
having said this, I wanted to understand, how our corporate world is, and then, how
Oh, okay,
media
okay,
works,
okay.
how communication works, because
Okay.
I think I'm
I
closely
think
associated to it. So,
very good. The last part of it is very good. The communication part of it is really good so that you should be in a position to really, try to see what best. So you can unmute and also switch off the video. Thank you very much, Shailaja.
thank you, sir. Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you. Right. Next, I will go to next person. Just before we start, because one more minute is there. Akkapelli. Sorry, Akkapelli Ajay. Can you please unmute Ajay? Also, you can switch on your video so that, like Shailaja, we can have an interaction as to whom I am talking to. Ajay, can you please switch on the mic and as well as the camera for a minute, only a minute? Ajay, are you able to hear me, Ajay? Hello, Ajay. I think Ajay switched on the mic and went away. Perhaps, or you are not. Ajay, you are in the chat. Mic panja itlida, or at least reply in the chat. Can you reply in the chat, Ajay? Are you in a position to talk to me, or are you feeling shy to talk? Don't feel shy. We are all offline. No need to feel shy at all. Everything working, sir. But then you please switch on your mic now if you don't mind. Only for today. But I'll keep talking to you now and then. That's why I would like you to keep the. As Saileja was telling, it's very good when you attend classes. I'm going to involve most of the people in interaction. So kindly switch on your mic, Ajay. Can you switch on your mic? Yes or no? You can put it in the chat. If no, then I'll go to the next candidate. Ajay. Ajay. Oh, I know no response. Ajay is, I think, hesitating to talk or chat. Okay. I think Radhika went away. By the time I asked her, she went away. Oh God, why don't feel shy, all of you. We are supposed to interact. Okay, then I'll just start my class now. That 10:30 aindi. I hope others will join. And as you know, yesterday there was a lot of trouble in getting connected to the class. Hence, there was a lot of technical problem. Today, Yashwant helped me in logging in pretty well before, so that now we are in shape to to see that we are in a position to go forward with the classes. Only, but we have only 4 classes. I think I'm supposed to take about 5. I don't know, maybe about a couple of classes more, depending on how how you respond. So we have, I have in front of me the syllabus I'm supposed to cover for you people. Is as you know, this is pertaining to print media. Subject is print media, and the 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 classes that we will be discussing will be more or less the practical part of what really happens outside in the industry, more than what is in the books. Though I will still confine myself to books to some extent, because from examination point of view, you have that necessity also. Having said that, I should inform you that we will be in a position to you know take up the class according to the way the syllabus has been laid. It has been laid into about 4 or 5 blocks, each block having some units. So you know that it's impossible to go through the entire over 150 pages course material within 5 or 6 classes. So what we will be doing is we will be touching peripherally on every aspect of the entire syllabus, but in a very peripheral manner. Now and then I'll interrupt to ensure that you are listening and you are able to understand what I want you to understand. That is also very essential for me. So I believe in two-way traffic. Now and then you can respond, please. Okay, you can respond. I'll give you full freedom to unmute as well as to talk to me. You can apply breaks, but don't apply sudden breaks. As I keep, you can always ask questions in the chat also. By the time we reach, by the time we are, at the end of the class, I lost 5 minutes or 10 minutes. I will leave for interaction, so that I would like you to understand what is being said, and then preferably after the class, maybe later after all the classes are over, try to brush through what we discussed. And it's all easy అయిపోతుంది మీకు. Now and then I'll talk in Telugu, also in Hindi. शेख शाहनवाज आप हैं, आप माइक ऑन करके बात कर सकते हैं या नहीं कर सकते? शेख शाहनवाज, Radhika, don't go away, be there only, I will not call you, don't worry. Sheikh Shahnawaz. Ajay has also come. Okay, now we have about few. Yesterday, I think there were about 10 participants. Swati is there. Uh, Swati, can you please unmute and yeah, Sheikh Shahnawaz has said yes, sir. Thank you, Sheikh. Swati, unmute cheyagalava amma, maatadagalava. Quick, I have only 1 minute.
Sir.
Good, Swati. What made you to join BA journalism course?
Sir?
You have any specific reason for joining BA journalism course?
Yes, sir.
Yes, what could be the reason?
Press to know about social media.
Oh, okay. You want to know more about social media. Very good. We'll be discussing about that also as we go along. Okay, Shahnawaz has said, is there? Okay, right. Oh, thank you, Swati. Yeah. Okay, now we'll see today. The subject is print media. So without knowing what is the subject, there's no point in going forward. So as you know, we have various media of communication. And when we talk about communication, it is not simply myself addressing a couple of participants here or a few of the participants. This is a very small group I'm communicating. But when I want to do so to a very large number of people, maybe in thousands, maybe in lakhs, maybe in millions, or maybe a billion people I want to communicate, that puts me to a level called as mass communication. So I'll have to address so many people. Most of them are unknown to me. Most of them I don't know whether they're literate, they're illiterate, whether they're able to understand in the language that I communicate. So what is that we have to do to know about this print media? What exactly is this print media, and what is its role? Historically we'll see a little bit, and what is its status today? That is very important for us. What exactly is its status today? So print medium or print media. Media is normally the plural of medium, but there are many times we use that liberally, interchangeably, media antamu, medium antamu. So print medium is a way of communication, one of the means of communication. And like radio is another means of communication, a channel of communication, a medium of communication. Audio is radio, then audio visual is television, and now, as Swati is telling, we have now social media, as you know, the internet or the web. Now we have multimedia also, the way we communicate. And then most of these are also, or can be, called as the media of mass communication. And print media is one of the most important historically also. If you take, printing was invented way back in 6th century AD in China. Okay, in China it was invented. And then we don't have any evidence for that. That's why poor China could not get the recognition worldwide. But evidence ఉన్నది ఏంటి అంటే, the first Bible was printed in 1454 by Gutenberg, okay, from Mainz, Germany. Okay, at that time, Germany, 1454, around 15th century. So he actually has printed the first printed work, which is the Bible, the 42-line Bible. Okay, and about he printed a few copies, about 300 copies. He took his own time to print these copies, and that was the evidence. దానికి మన ప్రూఫ్ ఉంది. ఇప్పుడు కూడా ఆ పుస్తకం లండన్లోను, న్యూయార్క్ మ్యూజియంలో ఉన్నాయి. We have that అన్నమాట. So what is the greatness of this particular medium of communication? This is one area where it enabled people to read. But one of the biggest drawback ఏంటి? Only people who could read could get through this particular print as a medium of communication. So what was the biggest requirement was, one needed to be literate to actually catch the messages sent through this particular medium of communication. So paper was one of the major reasons for printing to come up. Before paper, people used to write on our Tamrapatra, all of us also on Palmyra leaves, leaves మీద రాసేవాళ్ళు ఆ రోజుల్లో pens toti, no calligraphy. We used to have, and we have that in our mythology also. But that is not, I mean, that is how before it was. But later, ఇంకా before ఏంటి, caves మీద రాసేవాళ్ళు, caves మీద writing, you know, we used to have that hieroglyphics. We used to have on the caves, on the stones, and other places, and later on the leaves, and later on the paper, which was again credited to Chinese people who actually found out this making paper with the fibrous material taken from the trees. So that's how slowly people started writing. Then writing was very, very difficult. We had no carbon papers, mind you. We had no manifold papers to type so many copies. We had to write two copies. We had to write two times. So that was how it was. You can imagine how the world was when, and how lucky you are. Then came this print as a medium of communication that also took its own time, more on accidental inventions, and then the way we could it could transmit. Gutenberg was the one who was the trendsetter in ensuring that printed sheets could reach people at a very mass level. To a number of copies, the printing machines and everything, they started coming up, and that is how actually people started communicating. So one of the major reasons for the printing to develop, all the factors that help the printing to actually improve upon itself. There was a demand for printing. What were the factors that helped the demand for printing? One is, of course, literacy. As people began reading, or they began writing, then they began learning. As people became literate, more and more people became literate. You can imagine how it helped in increasing the demand for printing. I will just tell you one small example so that you are convinced. And that is, suppose now you know the population of a country. Can anyone tell me what the population of a country? Quick. What's the population of India? Very quick. Anyone quickly. Anyone can unmute and answer, please. Population of our country is around 140 crores. So can you imagine 1% of 140 crores is 1.4. అంటే 1% లిటరసీ పెరిగితే 1.4 క్రోర్స్ ప్రింటెడ్ లిటరేచర్ అవసరం వస్తుంది. టెక్స్ట్ బుక్స్ కానీ, క్యాలెండర్ కానీ, బుక్స్ కానీ, कैटलॉग కానీ. వెరీ గుడ్, 138 crores. You hit the okay. ठीक है, मैं और दो ज्यादा डाल दिया because एक दो दिन में हो जाएगा कैसा तो भी. ठीक है ना Ajay? I think you will agree with me the way the way we go through the population explosion. Anyway, having said that, you should agree that 1% of say 140 crores is about 1.4 crores. So you can imagine how కొంచెం లిటరసీ పెరిగితేనే ఎంత అవసరం వస్తుందో. Whether it is books or whether it is magazines, newspapers, posters, calendars, brochures, catalogs, anything that you name it is a printed piece. Okay, anything that you name it is a printed piece. So one of the things was that newspapers is the first thing as far as you and I are concerned, because we belong to the field of journalism. We are more concerned with newspapers. Yes, newspapers actually help to use the print as a medium of communication, or for what we call it as a mass communication. And if I take into account the newspaper, the printing in India, if you take a history, I am not going to touch more of the history part of this because you will anyhow go through the course material. But trying to have an idea about the history of this newspaper printing in India. As you know, the first newspaper was in 18th century. Printing ఎప్పుడు కనుక్కున్నారు? 15th century. 18th century అంటే 1780, Jan 29th to be precise. One person called James Augustus Hickey, he is the guy who actually started a magazine known as Bengal Gazette. ఒక న్యూస్పేపర్ అని స్టార్ట్ చేశాను because on behalf of the Britishers, he wanted to actually, why did he start? He wanted to keep his own people. The Britishers settled in India because they set up the colonies all over the world. So when they were here, he wanted to cater to their own people. But later, as Indians started learning, as you know, Mahatma Gandhi, one of the most literate persons, when they started learning, they also depended on this particular thing. So this particular newspaper was, Hickey started a newspaper which was more dictatorial. उसका नाम भी आ गया, Hickey's Gazette बोलते थे उसको. Though he named it as Bengal Gazette, it was known as Hickey's Gazette because whatever he wanted to say, he could say, and he wanted people to believe that. But that was how the newspaper history began in our country. So you should know what are the other reason, for newspapers to increase in its circulation, in its spreading to far and wide, to all four corners of the country, north, south, east, west. Was one of the most important thing was cultural awakening. Cultural awakening. The widow remarriages, sati abolition. There were many cultural awakening. There was a lot of resistance over certain, um, uh, or certain practices which were very, very inhuman also. And that was one of the reasons why people wanted more of that, and not to speak of the the kind of a domination by the Britishers. Cultural awakening, freedom movement, everybody was thinking about the freedom movement, so people wanted to know more about what's happening, who is saying what, who is motivating whom, how are we going to get these Britishers out. So you could imagine how newspapers could play an important role uh, 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 across the country. I mean, if we take India as a thing, so we are having newspapers. You should know that the newspapers in India are as old as, or already over 100 years. In fact, 41 newspapers in India, 41 newspapers in India have crossed 100 years. So if I just tell you the most famous newspapers that have crossed 100 years or 125 years, the Times of India, the Pioneer, the Hindu, the Tribune, okay, the Amrita Bazar Patrika, the Statesman, the Hindustan Times, or all these are all the papers which have come right in 19th century and then 20th century, and now we are in 21st century. So they could sustain so many years. I mean, they could survive so many years, and that itself speaks of the kind of a role that they played in in spreading knowledge. And we all know what is the very purpose of newspaper. What is the very purpose of newspaper is to provide information, is to provide entertainment, is to provide knowledge. If you ask any of the IAS officers how they became IAS officers, 70% of the IAS officers are saying that because they read Hindu regularly, they are able to succeed. So I want each one of you here right now, all of you who are doing BA journalism, if you say that you're not reading a newspaper daily, then you're not fit to join this course. Quit this course. My only urge to you is that every day you have to read a newspaper. Now, how you read it is your lookout. You subscribe to e-paper or you get a hard copy. I get 4 papers every day. I get papers, and I've been reading for the past 50 years. Okay, right here, I've got all the papers here, which I read hard copy. So please subscribe to न्यूज़पेपर आपका जो है 1 हफ्ते का पानी पूरी जो खाते हो उसका पैसे से आपको 1 महीने का पेपर मिल जाएगा आपको. So get a newspaper. I don't know what paper you read. Telugu, Hindi, English, Urdu. We have a dozen Urdu papers from Hyderabad. You should know that. You should be able to read Hindi papers. We have Hindi, we have Urdu, we have Telugu papers. We have even Sanskrit paper, one coming from Mysore also. We have papers in all languages. So I want each one of you to read one paper, at least one paper must and should. नहीं तो ये कोर्स छोड़ के चले जाओ. पढ़ने का फायदा ही नहीं है. If you want to become a journalist, you want to become a good communicator, how Sailija was telling, she's in a corporate body and she's already working. Why she's joining this course? Because she wants to improve her communication skills, more so the reading skills, the writing skills. Unless you are a good reader, you can't be a good writer. Unless you are a voracious reader, you can't be a journalist. Okay, these are all the things that you should know. And likewise, you can't be a good speaker unless you are not a good listener. If you are a good listener, like how you are now, for instance, listening, all of you, to which I am really grateful that you are in a position to encourage me to talk to you because you are now listening. Now, when you listen, and a good listener will become a good speaker, a good reader will become a good writer. This is the main message I want to tell you through this journalism course. Otherwise, there's no point. फायदा ही नहीं है आपको अखबार ना पढ़ने से. Journalism course करने का बेफुजल है. So please think about in those areas also. And we are now in which era? We are now in an entirely different era. I'm only one of the few surviving printing persons. I have been in the printing field for the past 43 years. Okay, I've been in this field for the past 43 years. So I have gone through the oldest technology. I have worked in the oldest technology, most cumbersome, most tiresome, most tedious, technology I have gone through. And now I am enjoying the most sophisticated technology, which includes even artificial intelligence and machine learning also. So what was the reason I am still able to teach is that I was keeping myself updated. Now, one of my messages to each one of you is to keep yourself updated on what is happening in journalism, what's happening. Somebody said about, Swati said about Social media, you'll have to know about what's happening in social media. What is the role of social media compared to print media, compared to television, compared to the OTT nowadays. The OTT era also is there. We're having now. So and the entire web part of it also, the internet part of it also. So you will have to ensure that the modern technology is there right at your doorstep, and unless you are not updated, you will be outdated. Do you know what is the latest thing about journalism? Can anyone, shall I tell you one most interesting thing I read recently in a newspaper that is not there in your course material? Do you know what artificial intelligence did recently? Artificial intelligence ante enti? There is no human person involved in journalism now. Mind you, journalism. Okay. So what happens is that computer is fed with say about 6 or 10 news stories. న్యూస్ ఐటమ్ సేమ్ సబ్జెక్ట్ మీద ఒక 10 న్యూస్ స్టోరీస్ ఫీడ్ చేసేస్తాను. ఫీడ్ చేసేసి యూ ప్లీజ్ గివ్ మీ వన్ ఆర్టికల్ అంటాను కంప్యూటర్ని. నౌ ఆర్టిఫిషియల్ ఇంటెలిజెన్స్ థింక్స్ and writes one article, and there is no author's name. It is AI. Article is AI, artificial intelligence. It writes an article as if some human being has thought over and writes a beautiful article. Quite possible later we may agree, we may not agree with what is written, but that is actually the latest technology right now we are having. All of you should be able to know that the advent of modern technology. But so don't get scared at the same time. Without, after all, AI కనిపెట్టింది కూడా మనిషే. So you should know that AI has also been introduced or invented or innovated by human being only. So there is no substitute for human being, even if you take artificial intelligence or machine learning or some such thing. So modern technology is at your doorstep. You'll have to be very, you'll have to keep yourself abreast of what is happening today, what is happening tomorrow, what happened yesterday. So this is something which you need to know in terms of newspaper. Then why should we study about print media, sir? One student asked me last time, why should we study about print media? आजकल तो कोई print का अखबार कहीं को पढ़ने का है मेरे को. I can read the newspaper. मेरा cell phone में मैं पढ़ सकता हूँ. I can read on my cell phone. My newspaper, yes, you are right. E-paper can be read. You are right. You can go to internet and log on and get the paper, right? But nowadays they are asking you to pay. Go to Hindu and ask them to try to read the e-paper. There are many things which you are not privileged to read because they will ask you please subscribe. So वो सब्सक्राइब के अलावा न्यूज़पेपर वाले को बोले तो घर में आपको सवेरे 6 बजे के अंदर ही एक पेपर डाल देगा. You can read the paper. Now the greatest advantage of this print medium is that I read is on this. I have August 28th paper, pending paper. I haven't read it. I kept it aside. Now I want something from this paper. I can get. I have this print medium right in my place. I can retrieve it in no time. I can retrieve it. I have about nearly, I have about, I'll just show you a bunch of articles that I have cut. Bunch of articles that I have cut, and I store it here in my, by this drawer. Where I can later slowly, whenever I want, I can read that articles at my convenience. So that's the greatest advantage of print medium is that you are in a position to retrieve the information at your convenience at no extra cost, and no other factors like current hai kya, monitor काम कर रहा है क्या, inverter है क्या, ये है क्या, वो है क्या. So this is one of the greatest advantages of print as a medium of communication. And today, what is the role of print newspapers today? Can anyone tell me why we are still having so many newspapers when we are having so much internet? Through internet, Google Mata is there, everything you are getting. Why are we having so many newspapers here? Can anyone tell me why? Anyone can answer. Paul Stevenson can answer. Can unmute and answer, please. Yeah. Swati, can you answer?
So the
Why do we have so many?
The e-paper is always dependent on the technology, and
Very good.
while the print media is always available, I mean, it is easily um, available also. Availability
Okay,
of the resources easy. Yeah. So,
okay, very good. One very good word you said, Sailaja, is very good word you said is reliability. Okay,
yes.
why we are having so many newspapers in a country is that reliability is one of the most credible medium of communication among all the media all over the world. In India, in particular, is the print medium, the newspapers, the magazines, the caravan. Not that we get the e-version of this also, but as you said very rightly, we have this most credible medium. Why do we have this as a credible medium? Because because in a newspaper office we have got gatekeepers. Gatekeepers say, suppose I am a reporter, I go and cover an accident. I come back to my newspaper and I give a newspaper story to my editor. My editor is a gatekeeper. Then Sariga ichana leda information. He will check. My sub editor will check. My editor will check. He will coin a headline. So my story is getting refined. It is getting fine tuned before I give it to you people or to ourselves, to readers. Before readers get that news is credible. It is checked. It is verified. Hindu will never publish any story without verification. Without don't mind even publishing it one day late, but they will publish it only after verification. They will see whether there is truth in it or not. I write every day to newspapers. I write my letters to the editor in all the newspapers. You can see day before yesterday, Hindu, my thing was there. Day before yesterday, Saturday was there. A letter was there. My letter was there on Congress Party. I write under anything under the sky. I have my own blog also. So for newspapers, why we all depend on newspapers? That the most credible medium, and you are able to access the information at your convenience. The comfort with which you are able to read. बस में बैठ के पढ़ो, ट्रेन में जाते वक्त पढ़ो, कहीं भी पढ़ो. आप देखेंगे if you go to Bombay, local trains, that fellow stands with on one foot. उतना रश रहता ट्रेन. लोकल ट्रेन में उतना रश रहता है, एक ही पैर में खड़ा रहता वो खड़ा रहते समय आधा घंटा भी पेपर पढ़ता है, किसी को इधर उधर नहीं देखता है. वो पेपर भी फोल्ड कर लेके he will fold the paper like this and he will just read the paper like this, and as the train is going in one direction, he is on one foot only. He is able to read it because he is able to have his convenience to read. He feels that half an hour he wants to spend it very usefully because he can't get time later to read the newspaper. So now another important thing that you should know, newspapers are normally available in two sizes. Okay, you should also know what are the newspapers that are available. Now the newspaper that you get into your house, Hindu, okay, for instance, this is known as a broadsheet. This is known as a broadsheet newspapers. In India, most of the newspapers are broadsheet. Only there, but in London and all, the newspapers are like this. In New York, or sometimes some newspapers are like this. Now these are known as you're able to see all of you. These are known as tabloid. Okay, when I turn this actually like this, so ఈ size లో ఈ పొడుగులో ఉండేది tabloid అంటారు. ఈ size లో ఇట్లా ఉండేదాన్ని broadsheet అంటారు. In India, what we have is that we have mostly broadsheet, and Telugu newspaper. If you read a Telugu newspaper, you find the supplement is in the form of a tabloid. Supplement is half of it, and it is in this form. Okay, so this is how we have in newspapers. Most of the magazines are A4, or we call it as demi quarto. So what are the other means of print media through which you can do mass communication? One is newspapers, one is magazines, one is journals. Okay, now what exactly is we mean by the difference between a journal and a periodical and a magazine? By and large, the way they are termed, periodical and enti, what happens is journal is something where a science journal comes, a medical journal comes. Corona gurinchi Lancet and a medical journal undi. So Lancet is a regular periodical or a journal which comes, which updates on what's happening on the research front, for instance. Or we can also have what we call it as please 1 minute. I'll just tell you what are periodicals. Okay, what we mean by this thing. Now, one of the most important things that you should know is that uh, newspapers, magazines, journals, periodicals. In addition to that, what are the things that we have got in difference between print media and electronic media? Electronic media, it can be nowadays radio కాకుండా ఇప్పుడు మీరు రేడియో స్టేషన్ స్టార్ట్ చేయొచ్చు ఇంట్లో కూర్చొని. So suppose Mahesh wants to start, Shailaja wants to start, you can start an internet radio also. And what is that called? Do you know? I'll put it in the chat. If you know, you put it in the chat. Otherwise, I'll put it for you. Do you know, if you want to start, you can start with very little investments. You can start what is known as a, yeah, I have put it. What is it? You heard about it? Shailaja, have you heard about podcast? Yeah, very good, Ajay. Yes. Yeah, podcast is also now, you can have your own medium of communication through broadcast, which you will have your own subscribers and all that. Hindu has its own podcast. There is another podcast known as Suno India, which is now very famous in India. It's one of the most famous podcasts is Suno India. It's its own independent journalism. So if you become a journalist, you can have your own podcast, you can have your own views, but you will be subjected to certain, certain parameters through which you'll have to, yeah, certain terms and conditions. Yes, right, certain terms and conditions within the framework of the Constitution of India. So that is one thing where you can have, yeah, in case of print media, you can always go back and recheck that we already discussed. And another important thing that one can do in print media is that one can do in-depth analysis. Today there is a very beautiful article on Taliban in Hindu, the article on Taliban. तालिबान वाले फिर आ गए 20 साल नहीं थे फिर आ गए who are responsible for Taliban to come again. So if you want to have an in-depth analysis, you can go to Hindu and you can do that. This in-depth analysis is something which is very difficult for us to, not that you can have perhaps a discussion for 20 minutes or 40 minutes or 1 hour on a television, but television discussions, how they take place. We have seen that Arnab Goswami, उसके अलावा कोई भी बात ही नहीं करने देगा, वो बात करे तो भी वो 20 सेकंड 30 सेकंड से ज्यादा बात नहीं करने देगा, खुद बात करते ही जाएगा, और वो तो it becomes. But one thing is one great thing is that they get all the TRP ratings. He's very popular at the same time. So but we don't want that. In case of print media, we have that maturity, that kind of intellectual approach to an issue, to a problem, so that we are really addressing the issues of the people. We are trying to give the solution to the people and all those things. So that is very, very important for us. In print media, language is more literary. Please remember, in print media, you can use language. You can be a more literary. You can use flowery English. You can use reader-friendly English. Just talk simple English, like how we talk in our, among ourselves. How we talk. You can write such kind of simple English. All that is possible in case of print medium. But in case of electronic media, things can be different. It's very difficult for you to identify people, identify speakers, identify their audition capabilities, identify their voice, identify their diction, their body language, how they appear on the screen, and all those things. So I used to give this live classes for AP Open University, for our own university. We used to give live classes on Doordarshan. So I could know that how the whole thing takes place, how you'll have to bring in about 4 or 5 people. They have to coordinate to make a program. I don't have to do that as in print media. One journalist is enough for me. And another important thing is the writing style in print media would be really very convenient, and you can also write. And one of the most important thing that we tell you when you are a journalist is to write very, very briefly, because आजकल के ज़माने में, पहले ज़माना is a different issue. When we were younger, when we were of your age, we had all the patience in the world. We didn't have social media, we didn't have mobile phone, we didn't have any kind of a distraction, including television. Okay, yeah, including television. Yes, Salija, has to be legible. Yes, absolutely right. And now, what is essential for us is that in case of this, in journalism, we expect you to write in such a way that your readers are able to know. Now, you don't know who is your reader. So you'll have to be very careful. Your reader can be a highly educated fellow. Your reader may be medium educated fellow. Your reader is just not only learning, and he's learning English because of you, because of the newspaper. He's learning English. So if you can try to be as simple as possible, then it will be really good for the reader to understand. So there is a writing style. Very good examples have been given in your course material. So you try can avoid unnecessary words. You can avoid mukkusutika matadats. Instead of showing where your nose like this, you can straight away show. Now, one simple thing I can give you is that Rama loves Sita. Okay, Rama loves Sita. 3 words, only 3 words. But if you are, because you're good in English and because you want to be more expressive, you want to be more explicit, then you can say Rama has pronounced affection for Sita. Now, which one will you prefer in newspaper? Because in newspaper, we need space. Newspaper cannot be endless like in your internet. Newspaper correct గా 16 పేజీలు అంటే 16 పేజీలే ఉంటాయి. 16 పేజీల్లోనే మన పరిమితం అవ్వాలి. So Rama loves Sita. Very good. So you like that because it is simple, and we call this as KISS principle. KISS is keep it short and simple. Keep it short and simple. This is one of the foundations of any journalist. Any journalist should think about that only. We should avoid unnecessary words. We should have active voice. Okay, active voice should be the Rama loves Sita. Rama loved Sita. Rama loves Sita today also, as per mythology, because we feel that he is still existent and she is still existent. Active voice, try to use as much as possible. Try to use active voice. And in your writing, always do not, expect the reader to understand your abbreviations. Okay, don't. If you are using abbreviation, explain it in the brackets. Now I am saying the other day I used Modi is enjoying Tina factor. TINA factor. I have used that. It has come in all the newspapers. In 4 papers, I published my letter. Modi is enjoying Tina factor. No, Tina factor and TINA. But then I mentioned it in the brackets. Tina ante there is no alternative. There is no alternative is Tina. TINA. So when you are using abbreviations and you're going to use it frequently, first time వాడేటప్పుడు మటుకు మీరు బ్రాకెట్స్ లో అబ్రివియేషన్ ని స్పెల్ అవుట్ చేయాలి. మిగతా టైం అప్పుడు అవసరం లేదు. ఫస్ట్ టైం యూ యూజ్ సిడి, then you put compact disc. Next of the times in the same story, when you use CDs, you use CD, no problem. Reader is already able to understand what is CD, what is DVD. Okay, a digital DVD or disc या जो भी है आप बोल सकते. So abbreviations can be used only provided you are in a position to spell it out in the first time. That is very important. And write the copy the way you talk. So nowadays the greatest advantage is that ఇప్పుడు మీరు ఏమైనా మాట్లాడుతూ ఉంటే కూడా అది డైరెక్ట్ గా స్క్రిప్ట్ గా కన్వర్ట్ అయిపోతుంది. You know that voice recognition is there. Oh, we have such a great thing. You are all really lucky people. I'm telling you, all of you are such a lucky people that you need not write now. You need not hold a pencil or a pen to write down. You just voice. But then essential is that whether you're pronouncing it correctly or not. Yeah, speech to text or dictaphone. We are in a position to use that. But how effectively are you able to use that? Don't take the technology for granted. You will get hell of a mistake, and I'll tell you that later as we go along. Maybe in the next few classes. So write the way you talk. Make full use of variety of words. Same word need not be repeated again and again. You can use one word, then word synonym. Next time you want to use the same word, but you can use the synonym of that word. So the same word, suppose Shailaja has used legible. Now you are using write legibly. Maybe you can use next time when you say when he was expected to write neatly. So you are used a synonym. You write legibly. He was expected to write legibly. Many people are writing legibly. ఇట్లా రిపిటేషన్ లేకుండా మనం వాటి సినానిమ్స్ కూడా వాడుకుంటూ పెడితే దేర్ ఇస్ ఎ వెరైటీ, దేర్ ఇస్ ఎ చేంజ్. సో రీడర్ ఈస్ ఆల్సో ఏబుల్ టు నో ఓకే legibly means neatly. That's what he means. So it has to be. So we also write, teacher also writes neatly and all that. Write neatly. Always remember when you are writing, always when you are writing, take it in a rather serious way. Keep a journal. Okay, you can keep a journal, means you can keep a diary. Here what I'm saying is diary of what you have written. And nowadays you can easily store it as a file, and you can put it in the mail also as a backup. And you can also, what is that way of writing. Now you want to write, no paper is ready to come forward and publish your writings. You are very good in writing. Nobody is encouraging you. Nobody, including your family member. I'm not interested. Many people don't even show interest. You feel disappointed. What is this? Nobody is reading. For your own satisfaction, you start a blog. BLOG. I have a blog. If you are interested, you can go through All Under the Sky is blog. I have a blog known as All Under the Sky. If you type allunderthesky.com, you will get my blog under WordPress. I have my blog, which I am putting, all my letters that are published, I am putting in the blog. So that let people see what I am trying to write, what I want to convey, what are my opinion, what are my feelings. I am not very active in Facebook. I gave up Facebook about 5 years, 6 years back. I was very active about, the beginning when the Facebook came for about 4 or 5 years. But then later I felt, I had no time also to concentrate on continuing my social media, though I am still very much alive in the Facebook, but I am not using it. So what are the techniques you can use for writing is, you can think about these things. You can try to rewrite newspaper and magazine articles. You read something, you read a paragraph, say into very tough count. You can break it into simpler pieces and then rewrite and see that you are also an effective writer. You can become an effective writer by rewriting also. Also, you can activate Google alerts. If you are interested in some issue, you can always activate Google alerts. You want to know something of what's happening in NASA, Land Rover, what is happening NASA, you give a Google alert. Google will give you alert either through mail or something. So you know what is happening every day on Mars. Land Rover ఎక్కడెక్కడికి వెళ్తుంది, ఏం తీసుకుంది, ఏం చేస్తుంది. You can do a very interesting item. For instance, you can also try to think about all these things. Will give you additional information. And what is essential for you to read? Now, all of you are given course material. I know all of you are given Open University course material, books, and all that bulky books you get by post or whatever it is. In addition to what is in the newspapers, if you want to be a good journalist, that's why I'm telling you, read beyond what you normally read. You normally read, say, the textbooks, maybe maybe anything else that you use in your daily life. But what is best is to read beyond your normally read. Maybe novels, maybe poetry, maybe literature, maybe you know newspapers also. You read everything. Don't मेरा बस में नहीं है. Well, you have to know whether you understand or not. Keep reading, and automatically you will try to understand. And then always comment on your favorite blog post. You can comment on your own thing, on you can comment on someone's thing, you can put a comment. You're improving your language. Or sometimes we have a lot of writers groups and ఉంటాయి చాలా మంది. You can join them as a member. They will tell you about how to enhance your skills of writing. So, or attend a writers conference or workshop on writing. What is writing? Actually, in England there is one thing known as Writers Bureau. WRITERS Bureau. Writers Bureau conducts English classes through correspondence. I learned from Writers Bureau for when in 1990s. I just happened to write to them, and they asked me to pay some few pounds, about 15-20 pounds I paid, and join there. And then the way I used to send it by post, and they send back. In those days అప్పుడప్పుడే ఇంటర్నెట్ వస్తున్నది. అప్పుడు ఇంకా మేము పోస్ట్ ద్వారానే డిపెండ్ అయిన వాళ్ళు పోస్ట్లో పంపించేవాళ్ళు నాకు. They used to correct everything, including comma, full stop, semicolon, colon, hyphen, ampersand, where you use and, where you should not use, where you use capitals, where you should lowercase. All these things, they were very meticulous. And English people are the best in English, very well, about the standards of English. I'm not talking about American English. I'm talking about English. That is the English from the UK. So try to get to these things. Keep write and write is RIGHT. WRITE, right, is always RIGHT. Keep writing, then you will definitely be in a position to appreciate what you want to convey in a written form. Okay. And what are the tools of writing? What are the tools you can use? You can always use newspaper articles. When you want to quote something, when you want to say something, you can always use newspaper article. You can also use proverbs. I used a proverb the other day, a Telugu proverb. I used it in English to say, how it happens in case of Congress party. I wrote about politics. And then you can also try to see some of the very good authors. You can also quote them. You can also quote many people. You can quote Mahatma Gandhi always. You can quote Indira Gandhi also, who said that there is no substitute for hard work. You can quote her. She's the one who said that there is no substitute for hard work. Okay, at 65, I'm still working hard. So there's no substitute for hard work. In spite of everything that you have, technology and all that, don't think that hard work will not be able to replace. Hard work cannot be replaced by anything else. Then when you want to write something, have a focus on the subject. So try to be more focused. So it's like, when you switch on the light in a room, you don't look everything at a time. You would focus at something which you want in that room. The room lo వస్తారు, light on చేయగానే మీకు something, your focus is on something. Then you will go close to that. Then you will take it out, say a book or anything. So please try to see what is that you are trying to access when you are going to write. And not simply the text you can copy. You can also think about photographs or illustrations. You want some photographs, you want some illustrations, you can go to Google Images and get the photographs. But many people try to just take the photographs without knowing whether they will be able to publish properly or not, technically, as well as Copyright Act also. So you'll have to be very careful when you try to borrow pictures or photos from Google Images or anything. Hindu pays a lot of money to Getty Images. Getty is the GETTY. You can source photographs by paying them also. Or sometimes you can also take photos by asking them their permission, giving them the credit. Kin the courtesy. Suppose I take a photograph from Central University of Hyderabad. I can call them, PRO, sir, మీ ఫోటో వాడుకుందాం అనుకుంటా, మీ క్యాంపస్ది నెట్లో ఉంది మంచి ఫోటో, మీకు courtesy సెంట్రల్ యూనివర్సిటీ అని పెడతాను. Okay, in that case you go ahead, he will give me permission. Without permission, if I do it, he may sue me also. And that doesn't happen much in India, to be frank. And I mean, to be practical. I mean, but America and all, if you're going abroad, you have to be very careful. So, what else you have tools? What else can you learn? The art of writing. You know, the simple way of art of writing, the best way I have seen is that many people are attracted to what is written in an advertisement. You know that, suppose an advertisement on toys, it is written in such a way that the child is able to read and understand and pester his parents to go and buy the toy. So that's how it is. So advertisement. How copywriting in an advertisement is one of the best ways of improving your writing skills. Okay, that's what we mean by that. So another important thing is that కేవలం photographs తెచ్చేసుకున్నాం, కేవలం రాసేసాం, మనం అయిపోయింది. I have written now. I have written a beautiful passage, one page, and I've got a beautiful photograph. Is that enough? No, I have given a beautiful caption to my photograph. Is that enough? That is what is important for us to know. In print media, what we have to know is that not simply getting this story, text, illustration, or caption. No, that is not sufficient. Next is, how do we present it? That is, how do I present my page? Now, here is a beautiful page. I have a page here. I have everything. I have the headline, I have the text, I have the photographs. Now, why should I have this like this? Deliberately इसको मैं ऐसा लगा दिया, ये नीचे से ऊपर पढ़ो, इसको left से right पढ़ो. Great expectations. So this is what we mean by layout and arrangement. Please see, all of you, I'm trying to show you here great expectations. So ఇది vertical గా వేశాడు, కావాలని వేశాడు. So there is a way of actually trying to make the story presentable, make the story attractive, make the reader look, here is a story. You can look into it, then read the headline, read the first paragraph. He's attracted, he goes into the story, and then you're catching very good, extremely good. You're almost snatched away my words. Exactly, Shailaja. Catch the attention of the reader, draw him into the thing, and drag him till the end of the thing. That is where you are now one of the best writers, where you are in a position to get caught in the beginning, get introduced, get seduced, get tempted, read all the paragraphs, put some suspense element, और आखिर तक पढ़ते जाएंगे आप. आखिरी पढ़ने के बाद में आप इसको बाजू रखेंगे. That speaks the success of the writer. How many novel crime thrillers, how many fiction writers we read, how many things we don't put down the book until we read and what happens next, what happens next, what happens next. Like how some of these so-called serials are seen. So say, take for instance here also there is a layout. Now here the headline is on the right side, the picture is on this side. Now here you see that it is starting like this. So how he has put it? It starts from here. He has put one initial letter. So if you now next time when you see today what we are trying to let you know is that how do we go about writing? How do we go about writing? We have seen how we should go about in writing. How do we get photographs or illustrations? Put a caption for that. Then how do we arrange them? That is your final stage. Without that, the whole thing is waste. So you'll have to be very careful about those things also. And the overall appearance of the newspaper is also very, very important for all of us. So this is what we have in this advertisement, layout, arrangement, anatomy of a newspaper. Now, if I talk to you about anatomy of a newspaper, now the great thing about a newspaper, which is which comes under this broad category of print as a medium of mass communication, is that a newspaper has everything in it. The first page has all the important news of the day, and that news can be sports. कल IPL क्या हुआ, first page में आ जाएगा. Yeah, anything else. Okay, anything PV Sindhu or the other one. The other day we had gold, medals in Olympics, Tokyo Olympics. So first page can have anything, can have politics, it can have agriculture, farmers, 4 farmers were killed in a convoy accident and all that. It happened in, I think in Haryana, Punjab border, whatever it is. No? कहाँ पर हुआ?
Haryana, right, sir?
Yeah, Haryana, okay.
It's about
Right.
8, sir.
8 people, yeah, 4 of the police people and four farmers, if I am correct, four of the people of the convoy. Okay, so the point is, when we in a first page has news, which is very important, which deserves to be in the first page, and all that news comes in the first page. It can be, say, for instance, it can be something on Chhattisgarh CM. It can be something on monetization economy. It can be something on zone notification. Okay, garbage dump या जो भी है. It can be vaccination. It can be KCR on Dalit Bandhu. Now, all these, it can be local, it can be national, it can be international, it can be a crime, it can be, anything which, which comes in the front pages of topmost news stories. Then, in any newspaper, invariably, when you see a newspaper of, say, 16 pages or 24 pages, normally, you will come across the first page having news all over the from all over the world, including आपके बाजू गली में भी क्या हुआ सो. उस्मान सागर का लेक में ब्रीच हो गया, पानी पूरा आ गया, बहुत आबादी हो गया वहां पर. यू कैन पुट इन द फ्रंट पेज. ओके, यू कैन पुट दैट ऑल्सो. और कमला हैरिस और कुछ की बोलती है अपने देश के बारे में, मोदी बकवास है, इट कैन कम इन द फ्रंट पेज. ओके, मोदी खुद बोलेगा राहुल गांधी बकवास है, इट कम इन द फ्रंट पेज. Rahul Gandhi खुद बोलेगा कुछ आएगा, it can come depending on the importance, the prominence, the location, the proximity. These are all the values of the news that occupy the front page. Rest of the pages also, like we have normally the second page is the local news. Local news मतलब city में रहता है या तेलंगाना state में रहता है. Third page also maybe can local, but 2 to 3 pages of local news. People are interested to know what is happening around me. I'm very much interested in my neighborhood. So I have Inadu paper, which is now north, south, east, west of Hyderabad. तो नॉर्थ हैदराबाद में जो लोकल है उन लोगों का सप्लीमेंट में केवल नॉर्थ हैदराबाद का न्यूज उन लोगों को मिलता है. जो कुतबुल्लापुर में है उसके पास और कुछ न्यूज आ जाएगा. So they are in a position to distribute news accordingly. So we are able to do that kind of a thing also. Please remember. So you will have a local news. Then you will have a state news. The whole Telangana, Nizamabad, Karimnagar, Sirsila, or Sangareddy, or Warangal, or Nalgonda, or anything. For instance, you can have that kind of a news within the state. Then you can have regional news. Sometimes what happens, stories from regional, means southern region. For instance, Trivandrum, Bangalore, okay? Or you can also say from Jayawada. You can also say from Chennai. So southern states, you can have some news from this. Or maybe you can go for Calcutta and this side Odisha, maybe west also Maharashtra and other things, and northeast. Like that, you can think about regional news can also be written, and that is known as regional news. And maybe all that can be brought under what is known as national news. Sara, when you take news from all corners of the country, you can put it under a broad category known as national news. So is the case when you have an entire page dedicated for international news in case of a newspaper. Any newspaper has an international news, it has a national news, it has a regional news, it has a state news, it has a local news, the city news also. And likewise, it has also got an exclusive page for entertainment. Like Joby has cinema review or anything, or it can have on sports a couple of pages. Hindu spends 2 pages only for sports. People, sports lovers, straight they go directly to sports page. The youth of our country go directly to the sports page. Okay, old fellow like me go straight to the politics or maybe to the editorial side. We have a page, we have the center spread where we have all the editorials, serious articles. Who is thinking about what, in what way, in what manner can also be thought about, and then you can see editorial. I invariably read the editorials. I read the articles because I want to form an opinion of my own. And I can form an opinion of my own only when I'm in a position to read what others are writing. And they are not simply others. They're very eminent people. They're very experienced writers. They have a lot of knowledge. They may be professionals also. Somebody writing about data collection, data is himself a data expert. So maybe he's a very good data analyst. Somebody writing about statistics, census ke baare mein. Somebody can think about that also. So please remember, we have newspapers catering to all this entertainment. We have newspapers, and then we also have newspapers sometimes exclusively focusing on education. Hindu focuses on education. One day in a week, Hindu focuses on opportunities. One day in a week, Wednesday, Hindu focuses on science and technology. You know, we have separate segments for each of these, areas. So literally, you have the entire world covered in a newspaper. In a newspaper, you are able to get everything in a newspaper as good as how you get everything under Google. But Google में क्या है, आपको ढूंढना पड़ेगा. यहाँ पर क्या है, हमने सब लेख एक रखा है और आपका ढूंढने का केवल 16 पेज या 24 पेज है. आपको हजारों पेज को ढूंढने की जरूरत नहीं है. गूगल में वो होता है. So Google में what happens, you are getting lost in the flood of information. You are flooded with information. But in case of here, you're being given a selective pieces of information which makes you to assimilate the information in a better manner. That is the reason why print media is still surviving. And ironically, in India, the newspaper or world over newspaper printing anta padipotunnadi. Printing padipotunnadi, but newspaper padipovatledu. Newspaper e-version untunnadi. E-version is coming up everywhere now. Yes. Yes, Mahesh, you want to talk? Mahesh wants to talk? Yeah, anybody who wants to ask any question, please unmute and talk. Yeah, hello. Hello. Anybody wants to talk? So, anatomy of a newspaper indicates that you have, various aspects coming under a newspaper. So, next time when you read newspaper, please read from the points that we discussed. From all the points that we discussed, take a newspaper. We memo on Nagarjuna. Let us see what Nagarjuna was trying to say. Let us see whether what he is saying is correct. So compare it. Okay. Now Ajay has come to the point. Ajay wants very good. Ajay wants something known as important questions for second semester. Please, Ajay, how do I know what is important, Ajay? What is essential for you is that I think at the end of the each unit, you are having some questions. Normally, questions normally. So don't get one thing, Ajay. I want you to become a good journalist. I don't want you to become a good graduate. There's a lot of difference between that. Okay, I want you to. Yeah, it's not that difficult. Just uh, uh, read for your examination. From examination point of view, don't worry, Ajay. As long as you write, as long as you write what Sailaja has said legibly, as long as you write grammatically, as long as you use correct spelling, మీరు అదొక్కటి చెక్ చేసుకొని సింపుల్గా రాసుకుంటూ పోండి అండ్ పాయింట్ మీకు ఈజీగా వస్తుంది. జనరల్ మీరు ఏం అనుకున్నారో అదే రాయండి. మీరు ఏది చదివారో అది రాయద్దు. నో నీడ్ టు ये क्या है जो आपने इंटरमीडिएट में नो बेचारे चैतन्य नारायण वाले आपको ठोक ठोक के कुछ पढ़ाया होगा या स्कूल में भी ठोक के पढ़ाया होगा, वो पूरा वॉमिटिंग किया होगा आपने, वो वॉमिटिंग करने के बाद वो पूरा मार्क्स आपको आया, उसको पूरा छोड़ दो आप. जर्नलिज्म में ऐसा नहीं होता है. जर्नलिज्म में जो आपको जो सोच में जो आता है पढ़ने के बाद, so you try to form your own impression after reading unit 1. You please write down, take one notebook. I'm telling you, one of the best ways to prepare for the examination is take one notebook. I've always been a topper in my college academics, but I don't believe that academic alone will work. What is essential for us? Yes, that I'll come to that answer. I'll come to that answer. One of the important things is that you need to, write down. After reading a unit, write that in your own words. You are slowly becoming writing expert also. एग्जामिनेशन के लिए नोटबुक रख लो, ये एक यूनिट पढ़ लो, उसके बारे में लिख लो. वो क्वेश्चन रहता उधर यूनिट के लास्ट में क्वेश्चंस है, वो क्वेश्चन लिख के क्वेश्चन का आंसर लिख दो. वो देख के लिखते हैं या अपने ओन वर्ड्स में लिखते हैं, अपने ओन वर्ड में लिखने का कोशिश करो. यू ट्राई योर बेस्ट टू राइट इन योर ओन वर्ड्स. Now another question we got 3 minutes more, but Ajay has another important question. One question he asked about is important questions. Now another important question, more important than important questions, is why journalists are arrested sometimes. Ajay, why sometimes, quite often they are arrested? Because जो जो कड़वा चीज है, Kadava cheese means, the way truth is always bitter. And when we try to say something bitter, it rubs somebody on the wrong side. So obviously they will be, affected. But what is essential for journalists not to get arrested is that's why journalists should be very tactical, should be intelligent, should be polite, should be very, very strategic. He should have the cake and eat it too. Without getting arrested, he can still write something, you know, and that fellow should be taken by surprise. So why all journalists are not arrested? Only some journalists are arrested. Why? So always remember, uh, somewhere quite possible you might have given a scope for being arrested. Scope for being arrested. Recently, I have seen this Pavan Kalyan and Posani Murali Krishna का आप उन लोगों का टीवी में देखिए इन लोगों का बात इन लोगों की गालियां हमें शर्मिंदा करते हैं everybody is put to shame when they are using that on the television, the kind of word that they use, the slang and everything. Both, I'm not supporter of anybody, but when I see it subjectively and objectively, I sometimes feel that the journalistic values are getting eroded. And there are many instances where the whole problem, a very good point, we had, I think Swati or Sujata was telling that about social media. There is a very, very, one of the most important thing is that we, yes, you're right, Shailaja, reaction to emotions. What is essential for us in the पुराने जमाने में हमारा reaction नहीं था पढ़ने के बाद क्या reaction is only through letters to the editor. Whereas nowadays everything is becoming instinct. You are able to respond immediately through social media. So we are having some new problems now, new challenges now because of this technology. And don't expect social media to be, you know, it's going to take a lot of time, many more years for social media to be believed. Only today, only I read one news item. Google has deleted about 35,000 on the basis of the complaints. Suppose somebody writes something about me in Google, I can write to Google and tell them it is wrong what he wrote. I can show proof, and then Google will remove it from his social media. Do you know that? It is possible now. I can get you or what you write on social media removed. Okay, I can get that done also. Yeah, very good. It's minuscule. Yes, you're right. It's going to. But I hope over a period of time, people become more mature, become more intelligent. Now only slowly they are realizing the after effects, the aftershocks of social media. कितना harm it वो कर रहा है social media, how much it is harming the society, how much it is actually tearing the fabric of our society and all those things. That is a separate subject we'll discuss. Now 11:30 time हो गया. Tomorrow we'll meet sharp at 10:30. I want all of you to participate actively. I'm very happy, Shailaja. You're also responding, Ajay. You're responding through chat. I'll be very happy whether you can unmute and talk also. And here, okay, right. Very good. Thank you very much, all of you. And we'll catch up tomorrow with the next topic. Thank you. Yeah. So I am leaving now. Okay, right.